Welcome, good people of the Bronx and beyond. I'm Henry Ovalles, your host for Life in Art. This is the start of our third season. It's been such a wonderful year bringing you engaging and personal conversations with artists whom you may have not known. People who have been working on their craft for at least a decade and have struggled with finding the balance between following their artistic passion and making ends meet. We've discussed creativity and inspiration with our guest artists, but also found out their philosophies in finding the equilibrium between practicality and creative passion. And we're hoping you continue to join us and become inspired as we talk to a new batch of artists this season. Our guest today is a self-described improv nerd. He has been studying improvisation since 2003 and has been performing in the New York City improv scene since 2008. He has performed at many notable New York City venues like the People's Improv Theater, Magnet, UCB, and others. Since 2012, he has facilitated Viola Spolin-based theatrical improvisation workshops in New York City and abroad in Lisbon, Portugal, including a workshop at the National Conservatory. He is currently the head of workshops for the theater company Artistic New Directions, where he also teaches. Today we learn about Stephen Thornton's life in art.
Geisha, gravy, geisha, 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 gravy, geisha gravy.
And here we are in the studio with Stephen Thornton. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So let's actually dig in right away and find out about where you came from. Where were you born and where did you grow up, Stephen?
Okay, so I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and then, but most of my childhood actually ended up taking place in Littleton, Colorado.
Really? From Hawaii to Colorado? How does that happen?
Divorce.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
But yeah, so my parents, you know, things didn't work out. So my mom ended up moving to Colorado when I was about 5 years old because she had a sister who lived out there.
I see.
And then the nice part about it was being able to shuttle back and forth for holidays and spring breaks and summer vacations.
Right. Do you have any siblings or?
No, I was actually an only child until I was 14.
Okay.
And then I have a half brother.
From your father's side or your mother's?
From my mother's side.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hawaii to Colorado, I guess I would think that there's a bit of a culture shock there. Was that your sense or?
It's more of a weather shock, if anything, from
Right.
hot to cold. But you know, definitely different demographics from Hawaii to Colorado. So yeah, it was definitely different, but I have to say it was an interesting childhood because I got to live in both places.
Right, right. And as far as artistic inclinations, are any of your parents into the arts or?
No.
Right, so it's.
None whatsoever. I think we had a grandfather somewhere on some side that sang in the pub.
Okay.
Or sang in a bar or something like that. Like
Sure.
That was his claim to fame. Like he was that go-to singer in a bar. But aside from that, I think I'm pretty much the first person to really pursue the performing arts in our family on both sides, actually.
Got it. And so how did that start for you? When did you get bit by the acting bug, as we say?
Well, funny enough, it was in high school, as most people are, I would assume. But when I first started going into high school, I was like, valedictorian. That's what I'm going to be. I am going to be valedictorian. And so as I was filling out my credits or choosing my classes for my freshman year, I needed another half credit. I was like, theater arts, what is this? I don't know. Okay, so let me just take that. Took it, fell in love with it, kept doing it. Valedictorian went out the window. Oh man, did that go
Are you saying you can't be theater and valedictorian? I mean,
no,
come on.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying that I could not become valedictorian and be in the theater at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, just especially after my sophomore year, it just became all-encompassing. Like, I didn't want to leave the theater. after school was done. That's where we went to go hang out after school was done. When we were putting up plays and building sets and just doing anything, I was there.
Right, you were all in.
I was all in. Like, I couldn't get enough of it. I couldn't get enough of learning about everything that the theater has to offer.
And what type of productions were you doing in high school? Musical plays?
Oh, musicals, plays, review shows, talent shows, run of the mill.
Right.
You know, I think we did Anything Goes, Sound of Music, the usual canon repertoire for
Right.
high school theater.
Right, awesome. And then earlier than that, elementary school, middle school, wasn't really on your radar?
I was a class clown,
Okay.
I guess. I was always the kid that was like, shh, just sit down, just sit down, just be cool, sit down.
Right.
So I guess it was present beforehand. It was just unfocused,
I see.
and theater is what focused it basically.
Sure.
And putting all that distractive, creative energy into something more positive than disrupting a class.
Right, that works.
Yeah.
And any other art forms that you sort of dabbled with, music or dance, or was it always just, acting was the thing?
Oh well, I think music for a little bit. Nothing past getting out of the garage. I don't think I ever got up on stage and performed in front of an audience unless it was a birthday party. So I would have to say that theater was probably the main thrust. Dabbled in a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but
Right.
I think I found my place pretty early on and
Got it.
stuck with it.
So then what happens after high school? Or I guess in high school you are building sets, are doing it all, acting, just loving it, not wanting to leave. Then what happens?
My mother said theater is not a valid way to be an adult,
I see.
basically. You need to go to college, you need to do anything but. And unfortunately, because of that, I went to a year at a university and then I dropped out.
Right.
And I floated around for about 2-3 years after that, just I guess depressed would be the best way to put it. It's just, it was really hard being somewhere in Colorado as an art person, where I always like to explain as Denver is a metropolitan city with a small football town attitude.
Right.
So it's very sports centric, and so the arts don't really happen. So it's like even community theater and things like that, I wasn't really doing anything. So I dropped out for about 3 to 4 years and just working and not finding my happiness. And then
Right.
at some point I couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, well, think back. When was the last time you were happy? And I went, when I was at the theater.
Wow.
So I made a point as soon as that epiphany came that I was like, I'm moving to New York. I don't care when, I don't care how, but I am moving. And in a year and a half later,
You were
I found
living in New
myself
York?
here.
Wow. Wow.
So, and I've been running ever since.
Right, and since you came to New York, you haven't stopped. Acting's always been there.
There's always been something.
Mhm.
You know, there's definitely always been something. Especially when I first moved to New York, I was very, very geared at just acting.
Okay.
You know, just acting, just the theater, just film, television, whatever. And then, and then because of, well, casting the way that it is, and the unfortunate thing of Hollywood being so whitewashed and the stage being so whitewashed at times, was that I was finding it hard to get roles.
Right.
And so I started filling the time with going back to improv, basically, and redoing improvisation and studying up on it. And about 4 years after I came here, I was like, I'm doing more work in the improv world than I am in the acting world. So it was about that time that I really kind of switched gears and was like, you know what, I'm going full throttle on the improv part. And when other projects come up, I'll take those.
All right, so I think that's actually, now that we've hit on improv, I think that's a great spot for us to take our first break. And when we come back, I want to, dig into that and see what the improv scene in New York is all about and what it's meant to you. Great. All right, so we'll take a quick break, but we'll be back with more about Stephen when we return.
Teachers today are finding new ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable.
Welcome back to A Life in Art. We are here with improv performer and coach Stephen Thornton. So as we were ending our last segment, we just sort of started to hit on improv. So how did he move from, acting and coming to New York City and starting to explore improv?
So I did start doing improv back in high school.
In Colorado?
In Colorado,
Okay.
Right. And then after moving out here, as I said, is that, I was focusing on the acting thing. And then a random individual who I did a play with was like, hey, would you like to sit in on with our improv team? One of our members is gone. Sure, why not? And after that performance, I caught the bug again.
Right.
And I just couldn't get enough of it. So I basically, from that point, I just started really diving into it, researching the history of it, where it comes from, all the big players who started it here in the States and kind of kept it running, and figuring out where it was to where it is now. And then on top of that, just again, just performing, studying, performing. Improv is just one of those arts that is like, you can learn so much in the classroom, but at the end of the day, most of the learning is done on stage.
Yeah.
In real time, as you're bantering back and forth with your partner, and you're getting the audience's reaction to what it is that you're doing. And so yeah, I was just doing more. Right. At the end of the day. And I was like, it'd be crazy for me just to do anything else but keep doing this path that just seems to just appear before me. I mean, I wasn't even looking for it, and this is what I love about it, was that I wasn't even looking for it, and then it just was like, oh, show. And I was, yeah, of course, So, that's really how I got into it, and it's just kind of been, it grew from an interest to a passion.
Yeah.
And so now, I'm performing around the city with a bunch of different teams. Was on a few house teams back a couple years ago, and currently I'm just developing projects that are hopefully getting out there, something that's new out on the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that what you're saying, totally speaks to me. I'm an actor as well, and then, just going from doing the cattle calls and trying to get, cast for a show, to then all of a sudden realizing that you can create your own opportunities for yourself, and getting more chances to get on stage. And with improv specifically, I mean, I'm still terrified of it to this day, but but I love, the adrenaline and the energy that comes from, going on stage and not having a script in hand yet, and what's gonna happen. There's nothing more organic than improv, I think.
I think the only other thing I can think of is jazz.
Right. That's actually, yeah. That's a great example of something that meets with it. Yeah, and I mean the instant gratification from the audience, good or bad,
right?
Whether you fell on your face and then things didn't fly, or this magic that's created right there in front of these people's eyes, and that doesn't come back again. Like you could tape it, perhaps, get it on video, but that moment's not going to happen ever again.
And it's not the same.
Right. Also,
it's just not the same as just being there and being present in the theater itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a rush, as you said. And just the ability to be creative on the fly.
Right.
I think.
So yeah, places like the Pit, where I took a few classes, they have written on the wall, "Follow the fear." As you've been doing it now for a number of years, has the fear subsided a little bit and turned into something else, or do you still, have that nervous energy before you get on stage every time?
I don't. I can say that I don't have the nervous energy anymore. But what I especially love is the people that I play with. They keep you on your toes so much that they'll throw something at you and you go, oh, okay, and you pick it up. So I don't know if it's fear, like when you're a novice improviser, you're a novice performer. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going on stage, butterflies in my stomach. I think I've gotten past that point.
Right.
So what is the fear now? I guess the fear sometimes is that, and it comes in as quickly as you push it out of your mind, is, gosh, I hope this is a good show.
Right. Right. Yeah, and there's so much to be said about improv and the sort of, collaborative process of that you have to be there for your partner and your partner has to be there for you, or else it just does not work.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's actually probably the thing that I enjoy most about it, because I write a little bit, so it's like I sit in front of my computer, I look at the little blinking cursor, and I stress out because it's blank. And I find that I create better when I have somebody to bounce things off of.
Right.
Like, so I feel like I'm a true improviser in that sense of just like, I can do it alone, I can do monologues, but I'd rather do a scene. I'd rather do a duet. I'd rather that 2 of us, 5 of us, 12 of us come together and build this amazing thing that nobody has ever seen before, and then we throw it away. Because it's like tissues.
Right.
You use it, you discard it. You use it, you discard it. And you never want to pick that tissue back up again.
That's a great description. So have you ever, gone from improv to, especially nowadays we talk about improv and we associate it so much with comedy, improvisational comedy. Have you ever thought of like doing stand-up, or does that not appeal to you because of the collaborative, process?
I have dabbled in the stand-up, meaning 1 or 2 open mics, and never caught the bug on that. I think it's exactly what you just said, is that my partner is the audience then, if I'm on stand-up, and I feel like it's just me regurgitating my ideas and telling you what I think is funny instead of building something together. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because my God, I mean, some of the comedians that are out there, both professional and just in like the underprofessionals or the people who are running around to open mics, I mean, they're incredible. I envy them on some level to be able to take something and just spin it around with their point of view and make it funny, I envy them for that, because the way that I like to play on improvisation is that I throw out a point of view, an emotional situation or something, and then you give your reaction to that. And then now we have 2 separate points of view, and now we have some place to go. We're telling a story.
Right.
And whereas I feel stand-ups, I mean, they're master craftsmen at their work, especially the really, really good ones.
Yeah.
And it's a jigsaw puzzle that I've never been able to figure out.
Right.
And I think it's also the whole writing thing by yourself. That's something else that, again, I've never really quite got the taste for. Anything that I've ever written, besides sketches, small 2 to 5 minute sketches, like anything else that I've ever written that I feel has been good has been with a partner.
Got it. All right, so I think let's actually take a moment and take our second break there.
Great.
And when we come back, I want to talk to you about, what's going on now and what do you see happening for yourself in the near future. Yes.
Thank you.
So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more from Stephen right after this break.
I want to be able to impact the community, to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
And we're back on The Life in Art with improv performer Stephen Thornton. So Stephen, tell me a little bit now about, improv. You're into it. You've been in the city now for a number of years. Now you've started. How do you make the transition from, performing to start coaching and things of that nature?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
It literally happened as something as simple as getting off the stage and somebody being like, "Hey, do you coach?" Yes, yes I do.
Right.
What do you need? And so I don't know if there's actually a right avenue you need to. I mean, maybe it's different if you go through levels, like all 5 levels at the pit. But mine was very organic in that sense of just somebody saw me perform, they liked what I did, and they said, "I think you'd be good for our team.
Right, and talk to me a little bit about that, because your journey, you explain even, and we talked about it a little bit when we were giving your bio, that you did a little bit here, a little bit there. Did you go through like 5 steps at UCB or 5 levels at the Pit? Or?
I actually did not.
Right, so you decided to take a little bit from here, a little bit from there.
And so that's the reason why I kind of proclaim myself as an improv nerd, is that I've never subscribed to one school.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I originally started with Viola Spolin, who is considered the godmother of improvisation, whose son, Paul Sills, was the founder of the Second City. And then, so I studied her stuff for a while, and then eventually broke off. And of course, before that, I was doing short form and then eventually got into a few classes, just random classes here and there. Improvisation News was a conservatory that I took, where actually I met my current director, Scotty Watson, there.
Okay.
And Scotty is very old school Second City, if I could say, where it's like we say that we're not doing improv comedy, actually, we do improvisational theater. And I guess the difference between that is that improv comedy is writing on your feet, whereas improvisational theater is acting without a script.
Got it.
So,
and is a difference there also like following the comedy, or I mean, in both aspects, are you really not trying to go for jokes? I would think you're.
Right. So especially in improv comedy, the laugh that we are looking for a lot of time is the the laugh of recognition. Not because something is funny for the sake of it being funny, but because that you see that and go, my cat does that. I know that cat. And I can laugh about it because I've had that experience in some way, shape, or form. Like when you watch a movie and you're just like, I know that character. I know that drunk uncle, and so that's the laugh that we're always. Of course, we slide in a few funny lines here or there, but it's not the intent of what we're looking for. It's more about the journey and the story, more so than it is about making the audience laugh.
Yeah, I mean, once you find something organic and that you're feeling off of the energy that came up naturally, then maybe you'll put a tag on it or something like that.
Exactly. And I mean, we've had a couple of shows where it was an hour of seriousness. Actually, wow. The laughter only came because the tension needed to be broken. Otherwise, it was a completely serious, almost a dramatic, 40-minute play.
Wow.
So so that's what we're trying to do. I'm a part of a group right now called Gary Austin's The Classroom. We have a monthly show right now at the Pit.
Okay.
And basically, what it is that the group studied with Gary Austin, who is the founder of the Groundlings out in LA, where Kristen Wiig, Will Ferrell, Melissa McCarthy, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman. I mean, just a list as long as your arm of amazing, astounding performers come from the Groundlings. So he came out to New York. We took a workshop with him. He had been playing with this form for a couple of years now. So we did the form in a performance after the workshop, and afterwards he looked at us and said, you need to perform this. You need to take this to New York, and you need to perform it. So he basically gave us the form, and it's fun because it's like a learning annex.
Yeah.
With improvisation, basically, like that's the whole structure, and it's very much about group mind and just characters and just kind of downright craziness. It really is just an eclectic evening of there's songs, there's monologues, there's group scenes, there's learning, there's not really any learning in the class, I'll be honest with you. But it's a form that's different, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
No, and I love that downright craziness.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the improv group out here called Centralia.
I have actually, I know Jay Roderick, who's one of them, pretty well. Yeah.
Good man, Jay.
Yeah.
He's a good man. But that sort of craziness. I mean, if you've ever seen a Centralia show, it is one of the most amazing shows out there because they just go with it wherever. And it's that kind of craziness that I feel like we bring to Gary Austin's The Classroom. So another project that I'm very
Yeah,
excited
no, so
about.
I definitely have to go check you guys out, and hopefully, some of our viewers will check you out
That'd be great.
as well soon. So before, we go, we have a few minutes left. One of the things that we like to ask our guests is, if you had to do it over again, would you choose a life in art? And, someone who wants to sort of follow your path, that wants to get into improv, what words of wisdom would you bestow upon them?
If I could go back and do anything differently, no. I don't think I would. I mean, I always find that question very, very hard to answer because
I'm with you there.
because where I am now, all the mistakes and all the mishaps that happen is why I'm here where I am right now.
Right, so you wouldn't even go back and do over the few years after your mom told you that, you had to not do theater.
No, I think that stoked a fire in me at the end of the day that I can't deny, that, that nobody else said, you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it. And I said, well, I'm going to do it, with or without your help. And so, and I just did it. And so without those 2 years, I don't know if I would have just did it.
Right.
In terms of advice for everybody is, if you get into improvisation, you will not make money. That is the biggest thing. It gives you a chance to perform. It gives you a chance to hone your craft, to be creative, but don't get into it looking for money.
Right.
Don't get into it looking that this is going to be your bridge to Saturday Night Live.
Which unfortunately a lot of people do feel that that's, they get into it for the wrong reasons, let's say.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the wrong reasons, because, people should dream.
Right.
People should dream. People should aspire to be on Saturday Night Live if that is what it is that they want to do. But just know that just because you're in the pit or you're in UCB, that does not guarantee you that Lorne Michaels will be in the audience at some point scouting you. And so it's if you're going to get into it because you want to get better. That this is something that you found, that you love, that as we were talking earlier, is that it's an opportunity to be able to create your own content at the end of the day. It's a great springboard for ideas, for writing webisodes and television shows and pilot scripts and things like that, but that it comes out of the process of improv. It is not what improv actually is.
All right, I think that's a good final period to end our conversation here. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you, Stephen.
As well, thank you so much, Aaron.
Yes, so it seems we've run out of time. Thanks to Stephen for sharing his life in art with us, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. We want to encourage you to connect with us on social media. Be sure to visit us on Facebook and YouTube at A Life in Art, and Instagram and Twitter at A Life in Art TV. We'll be back with more stories from emerging artists when we return with A Life in Art.